Welcome to podcast number 22. I appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in and listen, and also for the people that have written in. Very much appreciated. And these next three podcasts are going to be a series. And for the people that have listened in to the podcast so far, there's been a lot of references that you've heard with exit corners and entry corners and balance corners and vital points. And I haven't really gone in and explained each one of those things. And this is really what started it all. How I got involved with literally decoding the sport started with exits. And ironically, I had a phone call with Freddie Spencer today, and Freddie and I were chatting, and it is very interesting. I didn't even think about it at the time until I sat down to record this, that it's really where it all started was with Freddie. And so as a Michelin-sponsored rider, I got to go to some Freddie schools, and I got to ride with Freddie for a few laps at lunch. And we'd go ride, and quite honestly, it was more than humbling to ride with a guy and watch him get a bike off of a corner. And it was just very something special to watch the guy get an exit off of a corner. But not only that, I couldn't figure out what he was doing. So here it was. Yes, he was on 1,000. Yes, he's Freddie Spencer. But it was shocking to get gapped that much in that little time off of one single corner. And I didn't get it. I didn't get, how did he do that? How did he make it happen? And there just wasn't the right language at that time. Even at the Freddie school with all the, there's some great takeaways, but even I didn't get it. That's what started everything that I'm doing today was coming back and being able to see what he did frame by frame, think about it, and put it into my own words. And when I did that, after running that particular corner at Vegas, after running that corner in my head, frame after frame after frame, and trying to figure it out, it occurred to me that, wow, Freddie is really taking advantage of the exit. And we talked, and Freddie goes, yeah, I want to get the drive going. But that didn't tell me enough. So I realized, wow, he's taking advantage of the exit. And I went, wait a minute. That's because there's a straightaway after it. That's an exit turn. Wow. Okay, so what did he actually do inch by inch to take advantage of that exit turn? And that's how I decoded it. And then when I looked at it, I'd be able to figure that, okay, that's what he did for that turn. Well, then I can do it for another turn. So this is where the whole terminology in my verbiage started, was essentially figuring out track dynamics. And that's what made a big jump in my riding. And so let's just jump into it. We have track dynamics. And what track dynamics really is identifying what lasts longest in each corner. Not every corner is the same, and unfortunately, there are places that teach everything for the same 90-degree corner or the same situation, and that's just not reality. I don't care if you ride on the street or the track; it's just not how it goes. So, what we look for is identifying what lasts longest in each one of those corners, whether it's the acceleration zone, the deceleration zone, or whether they're the same. So let's get our language going on that, and let's explain it. I break it down into three types of corners. So we have exit corners, entry corners, and balance corners. Simply, an exit corner is where the acceleration zone is greater than the deceleration zone. Right? So in other words, we're accelerating longer than we're decelerating. That's it. An entry corner. An entry corner is where the deceleration is greater than the acceleration. And once we get into that, you'll understand why that makes some sense and how we give you report cards and et cetera to make that happen. And then we have balance corners. And balance corners are simply where the acceleration zone and the deceleration zone are roughly the same. How do we know that? Is because if you approach it as an exit turn, you've got a lap time. You approach it as an entry corner, you have a lap time, and the lap time is essentially the same. So a balance corner, you can approach it as either type of a corner, and it doesn't change your lap time. So exit corners. There isn't a track anywhere in the world that has more deceleration than acceleration, right? There's always going to be more acceleration. And so it's very easy to teach acceleration. Dude, get on the gas past apex, right? Well, that sounds fantastic. But let's look at that and let's break it down and get you to figure it out. So one, get a track map out. Get a track map out, and you can look at the track and you can go, wow, let's look and see where the acceleration zones are. The corners that precede, right, these acceleration zones, these straightaways, those are what's important. And most corners, as we've mentioned, are exit corners. So exit corners, I'm going to define it about 10 more times on this podcast so it gets stuck in your guys' brain. Acceleration corners, exit corners, are where the acceleration zone is longer than the deceleration zone. So we need to put our bike in a position to take advantage of that. First of all, we have to identify it, right? We have to look at a track map and identify it. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you've got 10 turns and 7 of them are exit corners. Fantastic. Well, you've got 70% of your lap covered by just nailing those exits, right? Getting the bike in that position. Yes, we'll take care of the other 30% on the next podcast, but hang in there with me on this. So exit corners, we're going to take advantage of what that corner has to offer, and what that corner has to offer is acceleration. So remember what I've said the other podcasts is, how do we do that? We got to have our bike in the right place at the right time. That's bike placement. Bike placement's the number one order of the sport. That's weird how that works. So bike placement, getting the bike slowed and pointed. Here's the key. Getting the bike slowed and pointed so we can start to accelerate past the apex. That's how we take advantage of an exit corner. And even though I've mentioned in other podcasts, people have ridden with me and are like, oh yeah, you could ride with Ken, you go on the gas at every apex. Or no, ride with Ken and you use the brakes every apex. No. You're hearing it wrong. Exit corners because the acceleration zone lasts longest. The bike is slowed and pointed so you can start to accelerate past the apex. Every single corner has a place where the bike has to be slowed and pointed, right? And what we want to be able to do is on those exit corners is starter acceleration process. So we're starting to accelerate past the apex as we take away lean angle, right? Well, how do we know we can accelerate? When we can see our exit and take away lean angle. Super big point, big point there. And I want to make, by just understanding exit corners, I said it, we just took an imaginary track and we said, gosh, 7 out of the 10 turns are exit corners. You'll have 70% of the track covered. And if you go out and just work on your exits, oh my gosh, your life will be fantastic, especially with the way bikes are nowadays. You got big, fast bikes, especially the thousands, right? They stop well, they accelerate well. Well, let the bike do the work, right? Getting the bike in the right place at the right time for those exit corners, it's free horsepower. Apexes are free horsepower. I don't care what kind of bike you're on. So think of it that way. You want to go faster? But you don't need to mill the head once you get the bike in the right place at the right time. So exit corners, right? Apexes equal horsepower, getting the bike in the right spot, accelerating past that apex. That's where the bike placement is a big deal. Now that I beat you over the head of that pretty well, what are our report cards for that? The report card is, 1, am I starting to accelerate past the apex? And can I take away lean angle? And if I can do that, if I'm driving it there, then I'm taking advantage of what that corner has to offer. As you go out and ride, if you literally just go work on your exits, and this is something that I work a lot on with riders, is especially when riders, we get frustrated, right? We're trying to go fast everywhere. When I get riders to back up a little bit and say, hey, you know what? Let's go work on our exits. Suddenly they're not rushing those entries. And they just start to accelerate past those apexes. You end up having a fantastic lap time and not so rushed. And yes, as your brain gets back into it, then you can, as your brain gets back into it, you can start to work on the entries as well. So 1, let's go back to it. Identify which corners have exit zones, right? The exit lasts longer than the entry. 2, what's my report card? My report card is the bike slowed and pointing it, so I'm driving it past the apex. Give yourself another report card after this. The other report card is find a tack out point, find a shift point, something that tells you how good your exit is. This was a huge deal with Freddie, where Freddie would always be looking for a shift point or a tack out point as he came off the corner to establish getting his exits stronger and stronger and stronger. So this is a pretty big deal. And this is a major cornerstone of my riding and a major cornerstone of what we're teaching. Remember, the entry of the corner just serves a purpose to put the bike into a position to accelerate. And here, we're going to do that because we've identified what are those exit corners. So, 1, identify them. 2, get the bike in a place so you can start to accelerate past apex. And are you taking away lean angle from it? Some fantastic report cards for that. Then you can start to look for tack out points, right? Look out for tack out points to see how strong that drive is. And as you get better and better and better at that, then you can start to look and see, well, gosh, where am I at wide open throttle? And then you can even start to map it out that way. So the first part of this series, exit corners. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about some of the other things that go along with the other 3 types of corners, but I wanted to get into it with exit corners first because really it is what lasts longest. Exit corners. Let's take advantage of them.